Welcome back to Diamond Weekly. My name is Cooper Deno. I'm joined here again by Kevin Lynch. It's been a few weeks, but we're back on the podcast train. We are a few weeks into the season. A lot has happened, and we're going to go over quite a bit today.
Yeah, we are. Very excited.
So what we're gonna start off with we're gonna start off by going through the different divisional previews first, and we're gonna do we're gonna just go through the divisionals. We're not gonna recap every team, but I'm gonna run through the standings. I'm gonna do this every from now on until the end of the year or whenever we're doing this. I'm gonna just run through the different standings and stuff. Okay. So for the AL East, it's starting out. Tampa Bay had a huge start. They obviously
started out 12-0, which is unbelievable.
They started out.
I had the best start to a season since the Cleveland Spiders in 1886 or something like that. Yeah, unbelievable.
They're 16-3.
Sorry, it was the Cleveland Bean Eaters. The Cleveland Bean Eaters in 1886.
Cleveland should have gone back to being the Spiders.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. So yeah, Tampa Bay's
hell of a name, by the way, the Bean Eaters. That's a really good baseball team.
There's a lot of fun.
The baseball team names back in the day were so much better than they are now. The names are so boring. We need to bring back the Bean Eaters. We'll get to expansion a little later in the show. There's probably going to be some MLB expansion coming up in the coming years. One of the teams should have to be named the Bean Eaters. What a name.
So yeah. So Tampa Bay is 16-3, and then they're followed behind by the Yankees at 12-7. Baltimore is 11-7. Toronto is 11-8, and Boston is 10-10. So
I'm shocked Boston is even 10-10. Have you watched a lot of Red Sox games?
It's been ugly.
They look awful. I mean, that staff is.
I remember at the beginning I picked Toronto to win the division. I mean, it's still somewhat close, but it seems like Tampa Bay might run away with it.
You might also remember I picked Tampa Bay to come in fourth in this division.
Yeah.
I thought the Blue Jays, the Orioles, and the Yankees were all better teams than the Rays, and they ran off 12 in a row right after that. So don't listen to me. I'm a moron.
So I picked Toronto. Kevin picked you picked the Yankees.
The Yankees,
too?
Yeah.
So that could still happen. It's really early. We're not even 20 games in yet. In the AL Central, starting off, kind of how I saw things. Minnesota. I picked Minnesota. No, I picked Cleveland to win. Minnesota is 11-8. Cleveland is 10-9. Those could flip flop easy. Detroit has shown a stronger starting with 7-10. The White Sox are at a slow start with 7-12.
A slow start would be a vast understatement.
Okay, I would clarify the team underneath you was a horrible start.
The worst team in baseball, and we're barely ahead of them.
Kansas City
we're
is
barely ahead of them.
4-15. Yet they are not the worst team in the American League.
I try to tell myself long season. Obviously, we're only 20 games in, and somebody did a breakdown on Twitter that if the MLB was an NFL football game, an NFL season,
yeah,
we'd be in the first quarter of week 2 right now. So long way to go, but it's hard not to overreact this early in the season when your team is really down in the dumps. It's just it's so frustrating because you wait all season for baseball and it's you're so happy it's back, and then it's oh man, this team is just making me mad every Friday night. I don't even like watching them. I hate this team.
And then the division we're gonna get to today, we've kind of laid off for a few weeks. As started off much differently than I would have respected. If we were gonna do the episode a couple weeks ago, Kevin,
and
who would you have picked to win the AL?
So obviously the Astros.
Okay.
Obviously the Astros, but and we'll get to this in the preview. I like this Rangers team, and they've gotten up to a hot start, and the Mariners got worse. They lost Jesse Winker, and they really didn't bring in much.
They lose Suarez too.
No, they
still have
there.
Suarez.
Junior Suarez is still there. I really like this Rangers team. Obviously, getting Jacob deGrom is unbelievable.
Is huge, yeah.
But Marcus Semien and Corey Seager have been off to unbelievable starts this year, and that rotation is one of the most underrated.
From what I saw, because the Seattle recently played here in Chicago.
No, I'm talking about the Rangers. I mean.
Oh, okay.
From what I've seen, that rotation, it's one of the most underrated units in baseball.
Okay.
Because obviously you have deGrom at the top. But Nathan Eovaldi is a very good pitcher. Martin Perez had a phenomenal year under the radar for the Rangers last year. I really like Andrew Heaney as a third or fourth guy. So they've got arms on that team. Corey Seager and Semien are really good. And I don't want to step on the preview we'll get to later, but this team has got guys, and I still think the Astros are are going to right the ship. They'll
it's
get
still super
and
early.
they're going to get Altuve back, and they'll get Michael Brantley back.
So Texas has started off 12-6. They have a run differential of 43, a positive 43. They have the most runs scored.
They put up three straight games. They put up a 12 spot on Philly to start the year, so that always helps.
Then Houston is 9-10. The Angels, who I need to do well, 9-10, and then Seattle is at 8-11, and then the worst team in baseball, the Oakland Athletics, who the Cubs just came in and absolutely butchered, are 3-16. Then switching over to the National League, in the East, you have the Braves, who are starting off really well. I picked the Mets, but again, still early. Atlanta's 14-5. The Mets are 13-7. Miami's starting off decently well at 10-9.
Luis Arias is hitting .458 right now, which is incredible. I don't I'm not crazy enough to say he's gonna hit 400. I don't think we'll ever see that again, especially in this age where guys are striking out so much and stuff like that. But 380, 370, is that out of the question for Luis Arias? He's off to a hot start.
When we did the NL East, you said Miami could sneak up there.
I like this Miami team, dude. This rotation is very good, and if Arias stays hot, Jazz Chisholm is a dude. I like this Miami team. I really do.
And then Philadelphia has been slow, but I feel like they're just they did lose Rhys Hoskins, and they're just waiting for Bryce Harper to come back, who could play first base or something.
I know you can point to injuries with Philly, but the staff has looked bad. Zach Wheeler's gotten roughed up a couple of times. Ranger Suarez has gotten roughed up a couple of times. Aaron Nola has been bad.
Do you see last year, what happened last year when they made the World Series as a one and done type of thing?
I don't know, because even if you look back to last season, they were not good the first half of the season, and then they kind of went on this miracle run in August and September and snuck in. People forget they were the third wildcard team. It's not like Philly coasted in the playoffs. They really had to scrape and claw to get into they had everybody knows they have the pieces. They have a talented roster, but it's just a matter of putting those pieces together. And when you're missing a guy like Bryce Harper, it's hard to make up for that kind of production. Even though we'll get to in a minute here, there's a chance Bryce Harper might be back sooner than later.
Yeah, and possibly playing first base, which could be interesting. He's been taking a bunch of reps. And then lastly in the division, Washington is just Washington at 5-13.
Yeah.
In the Central, things are interesting. Milwaukee's started off really strong, 14-5. Pittsburgh
13-7.
They did lose, which we'll go over injury stuff, O'Neal Cruz.
I know.
Which is huge.
So and
not only his defensive presence and his offensive presence, but he's just a leadoff guy that just builds you build the team around him.
Yeah, and it's
one of the few people that can hit a ball 100 and throw a ball 100.
Yeah, you never want to see a guy like O'Neal Cruz go down, obviously, one of the bright young stars in this league. He went down against the White Sox, sliding into home against Stevie Zavala.
Do you want to talk about that whole confrontation?
Yeah, so I'm very biased as a White Sox fan, but, on Twitter, Pirates fans are very up in arms, the White Sox are a dirty team, they tried to injure Cruz on purpose or whatever, and it's come on, first and foremost, I don't know if you saw what happened with that injury. It was a terrible slide. He was asking to get injured.
I was about to say
he looked like a little leaguer practicing sliding for the first time. Just no idea where.
Way too late and just came in at a weird angle.
It was a dangerous slide. He's lucky. Stevie Zavala, the White Sox backup catcher who was making the play at home. He's lucky he didn't get hurt with that kind of a reckless slide.
O'Neal Cruz is how big?
He's 6'7", big guy. So I don't want to blame O'Neal Cruz. I'm an O'Neal Cruz fan. I really like O'Neal Cruz, but to say that, the injury is his fault. It's a bad slide by him.
Yeah, I would 100% agree.
And it's unfortunate, and you'd never like to see that happen. But I think
when he comes back, he's going to be doing some sliding practice.
To call the White Sox a dirty team is crazy to me. Because a lot of people were.
I would say it's his fault. I would say he just didn't know how to slide.
Yeah. 100%.
But
it's hard to see the Pirates keeping up this pace. If they win 60 games this year, I'll be shocked. So 13-7.
But
I don't know what that.
On the other side, Pittsburgh is 13-7, which is interesting. My Cubbies.
Cubbies, dude. How about them Cubbies?
They just won today. They're at 12-7.
Putting a hurt on the Dodgers.
Yesterday, I got to see Michael Fulmer blow another game, And he just, like, it's been, like, 3 or 4 games where it's been close or a save opportunity, and he's just blown it.
But you guys have played the Dodgers, what, 6 times now?
Yeah.
You've beat them 4 out of 6, I think,
Yeah.
right?
And
I mean,
they won today. They won today in a 13-0 rout. Wade Smiley was almost perfect. He got a bad, it was a bad break on, like, how the no-hitter broke was on, like, a little dribbler.
Yeah.
Down the third baseline. It sucks, but I mean, I saw it in both Gomes and Smiley both wanted to make the play, but they just both won. It's whatever. A win's a win.
We were talking about this before the show. I remember when Carlos Rodon threw a no-hitter.
Yeah.
In the 2021 season, I was at that game. So he goes into the bottom of the ninth with the perfect game, and then hits Josh Naylor on the back of the foot, like by an inch. Heartbreaking. Like, seeing a perfect game get broken up is like one of the most heartbreaking things in all of sports. As a White Sox fan, I've seen 2 perfect games in my lifetime.
Really?
Mark Burley had one against the Rays, and then Philip Umber.
Okay.
That's a name.
I've only seen.
So Philip Umber made 42 major league starts in his whole career, and one of them was a perfect game.
I think I've seen 2. I saw that Did Jake Arrieta do 2 in LA?
Jake Arrieta never had a perfect game. He had
not perfect. No hitter.
He had 2 no-hitters, yep.
2 no-hitters. And then I remember one, like, when Cole Hamels was still elite, when he was with the Phillies, he had one against us.
There hasn't been a perfect game since 2013. I think Felix was the last one, yeah. It's been a long time. I mean,
okay, but Smiley still shined today. Obviously, the Cubs are now 12-7.
Cubbies.
We're looking good.
Look out for the Cubbies, dude.
We are first in the league in runs per game.
I know, and I actually like that rotation. I think Wesneski is a dude. Like,
he got roughed up, but
yeah, but the stuff is nasty. Like, he's a good pitcher. I think he's gonna be a dude.
Yeah.
Stroman is gonna look good for you guys. Like, this team's good, and St. Louis has been a disaster.
They're at 8-11 right now.
That pitching staff is a nightmare, and you know Pittsburgh is not gonna keep this pace up. They're just not. So it's like, can you guys keep up with Milwaukee? I think you can. I think that Cubs team is good. It's better than people give it credit for being.
And then rounding out the division is Cincinnati at 7-12.
Shout out Hunter Green, got that bag.
Yeah, he just got an extension. Lastly, over to the NL West, Arizona.
Yeah, I know.
11-9.
Padres and the Dodgers have been.
Their Dodgers are now 10-11. San Diego is now 10-11. And then San Francisco and Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously we know, like
6-14.
We know 3 months from now that this division is going to look very different. I mean, the Padres are bound to pick it up with all the.
And they did just get Tatis back, and if he can keep his composure, not get suspended again.
Yeah, the Padres will turn it around. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. Like, and I do like the Diamondbacks. Like, I think they have some talent. Obviously, Corbin Carroll is a dude. We'll get to that later, but like. I don't see them finishing better than third. Like, I just don't see it in the cards. The Dodgers and the Padres just have too much talent to be 500 ball clubs. I can't see it happening.
Okay, so now we're gonna, because it's been a while, we're gonna start going through like what has happened. Our main highlight is probably the Oakland news, but we're gonna get to that when we start the division. We're going to start it out with some Max Scherzer news. Kevin, you want to bring that up?
Yeah, so Scherzer got suspended for 10 games for violating Major League Baseball's foreign substance policy. He pitched against the Dodgers, obviously, and, in between innings they do the checks. Like, the managers will rub down their arms, they'll rub down their hands, so stuff like that, just to check for sticky stuff. And Scherzer, to my knowledge, has never had a problem with this before getting checked. I know when they first had the crackdown, do you remember the clip of him like taking off all his clothes, taking off the belt, taking off the hat, unbuttoning the jersey, all that kind of stuff? And like, he was one of the guys that was really like a major proponent of like, we really need to crack down on this kind of like this sticky stuff, like guys putting pine tar on the ball, putting whatever on the ball. Like, he was very much against any type of like foreign substance on the ball. But one of the things a lot of guys pointed out is like, it's impossible to distinguish between like an actual foreign substance, whether that be pine tar, whether that be whatever.
Yeah.
And rosin and sweat mixed together. Because on a hot day, like they were pitching in Los Angeles, it's warm there, obviously. So when you're sweating a lot and you're picking up the rosin bag, and then if you're rubbing it in your hair, rubbing it in your shirt, whatever, that's sticky. That is a sticky substance. So how are umpires supposed to distinguish between what a foreign substance is and what because rosin is a legal substance. They have a rosin bag out on the mound, obviously. Yeah. So if you have, a mixture of sunscreen, rosin, and sweat, which are all legal substances, obviously, like, how is Major League Baseball supposed to police that? How are pitchers, like, are we just supposed to say, oh, you're not allowed to sweat anymore? You can't use sunscreen on a hot day?
Stupid.
You can't do that. Like, I just don't know what the solution is.
Sunscreen has to be allowed because you have to be able to protect yourself.
Yes, and to this point, I think umpires have done a good job of kind of distinguishing between the two. It's worth noting there's been 3 pitchers suspended under this kind of crackdown. All 3 have been suspended by Dan Bellino, who is, or not suspended by Dan Bellino, but have been kicked out of the games for violating this policy by Dan Bellino. Dan Bellino, of course, is a crew chief and one of the worst umpires in baseball. In a sport that is probably known more than any other sport for bad officiating. Mm-hmm. Like, could you name an official for me in any other sport?
No.
In any other, I couldn't really either. I know, like, I know the names of multiple major league umpires, and I shouldn't. And I know their names not because they're great at their jobs, because they suck at their
Seems like
jobs.
you only remember the bad ones.
Yeah, you only remember the bad ones. Exactly. Like, the most famous umpires are like Joe West, Angel Hernandez, like the guys who were just were stealing paychecks from Major League Baseball year after year. So he's gonna miss 10 games. I mean, it's a huge blow to the Mets, who are neck and neck with the Braves early in the season, and they're already without Verlander, who's like, I don't know what's going on with this Verlander injury, because
I forgot about that.
They said he'd be back 2 weeks, and then he's making a rehab start. He's not making a rehab start.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be May in a couple weeks, and he's still not back. Like, what's going on with that? It's interesting, because Verlander, I think Verlander's 39. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll double check that. But, like, if this is a significant injury, that's a huge blow to this team, because they gave him a lot of money. He's 40. I stand corrected. He's 40 years old. So, like, they need to get Verlander back quick, because, I mean, obviously they're treading water. They're a talented team, but, like, when it gets down to it, like, you need Scherzer and Verlander to be at the top of their game to succeed. So hopefully they get those guys back.
One big key player that has returned is obviously the big reemergence of Fernando Tatis Jr., who returned from an 80-game suspension.
And I know you're not a Tatis guy.
No.
I love Tatis. Okay. I love Fernando Tatis. Just the swagger he plays with. Like, he's just so cool. And, like, he's a stud. Like, he's a flat-out stud. Like, I know people talk about, oh, the guy was juice, whatever. Like, obviously that's going to be a stand in his career. But, like, he still has to hit the baseball. He still hit the baseball. Like, he put up numbers at shortstop that we've never seen before. So, like, this guy is talented. It's not a matter of if he's going to produce. It's just, can he stay on the field long enough to produce? The health is always going to be a question. But, like, if he is on the field, and I think moving him out to center is probably not the best move when you're talking about trying to help his. But, like, he's a disaster at short. You can't keep him at short if you want to be a winning team.
They have an infield of Machado, Bogaerts, and Cronenworth.
Yeah. So. Ha-Seong Kim has been very good for them, too, at filling in second.
You have to put him somewhere.
Yeah, so
obviously he's a DH. Who's a DH?
Nelson Cruz. Yeah. Who's been pretty good. 42 years old, I think he is. I hate Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz, if you're listening, I don't like you. You're a bad guy. Come on the pod and discuss. But, yeah, I don't like Nelson Cruz because he's killed the White Sox for so many years. Also, he used steroids, and people just conveniently forget. They're like, yeah, Nelson Cruz just started being good at 32 years old. That's not suspicious at all. Whatever. I'm a Nelson Cruz hater.
San Diego has gotten off to a bit of a rough start with Juan Soto, Manny Machado. They haven't been as productive at the plate, but things will happen.
They have to turn it around at some point. There's no way.
Other infield news, we saw it last night, but Mookie actually got to play short for the first time since, like, 2000.
First time ever. He's never played shortstop in a major league game.
In a major league game, but he did it in, like,
lower high. Arizona Complex League. So the story is his first start in the Arizona Fall League. He started shortstop, made 2 throwing errors, got taken out. He's never played short again.
Yeah.
But he turned a nice double play in the 8th last night on his own. I mean, and the Dodgers have some talent out there in the outfield between Outman, David Peralta, and Tracy Chapman. So, not Tracy Chapman, Trace Chapman. Trace Thompson. Who's Trace Chapman? Tracy Chapman is a singer.
I don't know. Trace Thompson plays
shout out Tracy Chapman.
But
Trace Thompson is a baseball player. That's who I'm trying to talk about. So, like, you're missing Gavin Lux, obviously, with the ACL, and you need some help in that infield. So, like, If he can play, I mean, he plays second too. He's played second before with the Red Sox. Like, if you can move him around in a couple of different spots and get some other guys, in that lineup who are going to help you, like, I mean, it doesn't hurt. Having that kind of flexibility is always a good thing for sure.
More news. We're gonna just keep going down the line. Liam Hendriks is finally cancer-free.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was announced that he's officially in remission from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after undergoing multiple rounds of chemo. It's obviously like really good humans on not only a human level, but like if he thinks about coming back, the White Sox, like, they've had, as I think you told me, they have, one of the worst bullpens.
Not one of the worst, the worst. It's by far the worst. 7.47 ERA as a team out of the bullpen.
So they will need him back as soon as possible if he's gonna push for a rehab.
And he has said that he, even before he even began to undergo chemo and like treatment, before we even knew what the outcome of this was going to be, he said, "I'm going to pitch this season." Mm-hmm. This is a guy that like is one of the biggest competitors in all of baseball. Like, he wants to pitch, he wants to be out there. Because like you've seen the clips, like he's a psycho on the mound, shouting at guys, punching himself in the head, yelling. Like, he wants to be out there. This team really needs him. So I hope he comes back. I mean, obviously there's more important things in life than baseball. Like, his health obviously takes precedence. But if they can get him back for this year, I mean, he is definitely sorely missed. Hopefully he's back before it's too late for the White Sox to compete. Yeah. Because the way they're going now, I mean, unless he's back within a month or two, I mean, things might get off the rails quick. They're already off the rails. I mean, team sucks. They suck.
Other news in
I hate you, Jerry Reinsdorf. You're terrible. I don't like you.
Other news in their division: the Twins signed the ace Pablo Lopez to a 4-year, $73.5 million extension.
$73.5 million
for 4 years.
For 4 years.
And like he's had like a 1.7 ERA over like 20-something innings.
Yeah, he's been good.
The trade with him and the Arias was interesting.
When they made that trade, I was like, that's the dumbest move I've ever seen. Luis Arias is a stud at second base. He's one of the best in baseball.
Clearly, if by extending Lopez, they clearly like Lopez in some capacity.
Yeah, he's been really good for them. I mean, looking here, 1.73 ERA through a couple of starts this year, 2.7 FIP over 26 innings. I know the one start he made against the White Sox, he gave up 2 runs in the first, and then next 7 innings, he didn't give up a hit. Mm-hmm. So, like, the guy is just a shutdown pitcher. Like, he's a legitimate ace. Has been very good for them. He's added, like, this kind of sweeper pitch, which is kind of a mix between, like, a slider, but it breaks a little sharper down. Okay. And it's, like, the best pitch in baseball. He's got a 50% whiff rate on that pitch. So, like, half of the time he throws it, guys are swinging and missing, which is incredible. Like, so, yeah, really good pitcher. That Minnesota team is, I think, better than people give it credit for, and they've been missing Carlos Correa for a little bit. Joey Gallo has been like really good for them. Like these
twins are looking like a really strong team.
Has found the power again. I think
I did pick the Guardians to win the division, but
I picked the Chicago White Sox to win the division. If the Chicago White Sox win 80 games this year, I will be shocked.
Going forward, Bryce Harper. He's looking to return. He reported that they were targeting an early May return for Bryce. He underwent Tommy John this offseason and wasn't expected to come in the lineup until like mid-June or like the All-Star break. Like, he might be back sooner than later. Surprisingly, they have been primarily serving him as a DH because his fielding is pretty strong. But he's also taken quite a bit of reps at first base, which is surprising. So we could see that come into the season later. But obviously the Phillies, with the disappearance from the line, Rhys Hoskins with the injury, they'll need Bryce back. Their starters have struggled early.
Yeah, this whole team has struggled. I mean, coming off a World Series run.
I brought up to Kevin earlier, like, is this Phillies team like a one-and-done type deal after their remarkable, like, World Series run last year? I'm not 100% sure if I see it happening again, but it's still early. So, like...
Yeah, long way to go. We still got a long way to go, but, like, not encouraging start after coming off a World Series run.
Mhm.
Not what you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, this team only won 83 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they were running through the division. So, like, hope, if you can get in and you have a couple of guys like Wheeler and Aaron Nola, I mean, you can make things happen. We saw that
Mhm.
last year, so who knows? We'll see.
Madison Bumgarner got DFA'd
Yeah,
after
really.
a really dismal start against the Cardinals. Over 4 years, he's 15-32 with a 5.23 ERA with the Diamondbacks. This season, he's something over 10. I think
10.26 ERA.
the Madison Bumgarner age of old is long gone.
Yeah, this is really upsetting for me because I think you too. Like, Madison Bumgarner is one of my favorite guys on all of baseball.
Yeah.
Like, growing up and watching those Giants teams that were so good winning those World Series, and he was, one of the biggest parts of those teams. Coming, like, just doing whatever they needed, starting games, come out of the bullpen on a day's rest or 2 days rest or whatever it was. I mean, the guy just like did it all and like was a stud and just so electric to watch, and also just like insane. Like, one of those guys that's just like a psycho on the mound. It's like one of those real old-fashioned guys. It's just like not afraid to go after people. So gonna miss Madison Bumgarner. Like, one of those guys from like when we first started watching baseball. That's just no longer really cutting it. It's just not the same guy, which is disappointing. I probably the last we've seen of Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah.
He could sign for the major league minimum, which is I think is $770,000. But I don't see what team's going to benefit from.
No, after what he's posted up now.
No, he's not a major league pitcher anymore. He's just not, which is unfortunate. On the bright side, he is going to get $34 million.
Mm-hmm.
So not all bad news. But yeah, I mean, I don't like to see Bumgarner go, because all these guys are kind of going away. Him and Greinke, Verlander will retire in a couple of years. Scherzer is probably towards the end of his career. So like, a lot of these aces from our like when we first started watching are just slowly getting phased out, which is too bad. But it happens to everybody. It comes to everybody.
A couple of last things that we'll get to before we get to our AL West preview. Ohtani, there's been some trade rumors. Jeff Passan reported Wednesday that Shohei Ohtani trade will definitely happen if the Angels fall out of playoff contention. He could go anywhere. He could go anywhere from the Chicago Cubs to the Cardinals after the whole reemergence with him and Nootbaar. He could go to the Padres, who are exploding. He could go to the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, he is 1,000% going to leave after this season in free agency.
If they don't get anywhere.
He's a period. If they win the World Series, he is leaving. He's a free agent after this year, so it'll be interesting to see if the deadline rolls around and the Angels are 8 or 9 games back from more than that. It will be interesting to see it. Hey, if we can get a couple of pieces out of Ohtani rather than just letting him walk in free agency and we get nothing. I mean, Ohtani is going to get the biggest contract in the history of Major League Baseball. I've seen like 10 years for 5-10. So
yeah.
You're talking, he's gonna get probably $50 million AAV over a 9 or 10 year contract, which is incredible. And he deserves it. Like just as a hitter, he can make that. When you throw in what he's done as a pitcher, too,
yeah.
I really don't think
almost like leading the league.
He's a Cy Young caliber pitcher in addition to being a Silver Slugger at the plate.
Who doesn't like to see that?
We'll get to this later. I don't think we will ever fully appreciate what Shohei Ohtani is doing. Ever.
He's the first.
It's unprecedented.
Player of this time.
Ever. You can say Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth was not pitching when he started on a regular basis. He just
Shohei
wasn't.
started out at both ends.
Yes, it's incredible. We're never going to see this again ever. I mean, this is incredible. It's gotten to the point where a lot of baseball fans, or quote unquote baseball fans, people that don't actually watch the sport but like to hate on it, they're like, Ohtani's overrated. Ohtani's not that good. They are not watching the games. They are just mad because he is getting a lot of media coverage.
Yeah.
But guess what? He is the best baseball player in the world.
Right now.
Why would you not give him media coverage? He's the best baseball player in the world. Okay? So when I hear people say like, Otani's not that good. Judge is better. Alvarez is better. Yada yada. No.
Yeah, let's see Aaron Judge pitch.
Wrong. What was Aaron Judge? How many strikeouts did Aaron Judge have last year? Huh? What was Yordan Alvarez's ERA? Huh? Like, I just don't really think we will ever probably put into perspective what this guy is doing. It is truly incredible. Like, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you literally combined like like Jacob deGrom and like Yordan Alvarez in one player. It's unbelievable. It truly is unbelievable.
A couple other small things that we'll get to before our division. Obviously, we're going to get into Otani and the rest of the Angels before. A couple other small things that I found interesting. Elvis Andrus picked up his 2000th
Chicago White Sox legend
this year, which is the 4th among active players. We're going to leave this up in the comments. Guys, without looking this up, who are the top 3 in active among hits players? Elvis Andrus is the 4th among active players in hits. Who are the top 3? Go ahead and throw that in the comments, and we'll see if you guys are correct without looking it up. No cheating.
Yeah, Elvis Andrus has had a really good career with, the A's, the Rangers, a couple of teams. So cool to see him get that because he's probably his last season playing Major League Baseball. Guy just doesn't really have it anymore. He's been bad for the White Sox this year. Like, I've watched every White Sox game this year so far. So first series with Houston, he gets to hit 2,999. Wait, what? No, that would be 2,999. That was 19 too many.
Okay.
But and then it took him 4 more games to get to 3,000. So, or sorry,
2,000.
2,000.
2,000.
Yeah, he's only got 2,000 hits.
Not 3,000. Not 3,000.
Not 3,000. So yeah, he's not good. He's not very good at all. But yeah, good for you, Elvis. Way to go, buddy.
All right. That'll just right about do it. Obviously, in the coming weeks, we're gonna, after this divisional preview, our episodes might be a little shorter, but we're just gonna go over like what we just did is gonna be our episodes kind of going forward. We might go into a little further news of like any other injuries and stuff. I'm gonna mainly go over like standings and games and bigger news and stuff like that. But for now, we're gonna get into our final divisional preview, the AL West. And to start it off, we have the worst team in baseball, the Oakland Athletics. We'll first start it off with the recent news of possibly moving to Las Vegas.
Yeah, this is really disappointing because the A's they just have no interest in putting together a competitive baseball team.
Yeah.
Obviously everybody knows, the Moneyball philosophy and, the A's
which did work, but
the A's are never going to be. Well, it worked because they were the only ones doing it at the time. They're the only ones embracing the analytical side of the game and bringing that onto the field. But guess what? It's 2023 now. Every team is doing that. They're bringing that approach to the game. So when you're spending $35 to $40 million on your team, you are just not going to be able to be competitive. It's just not possible. Like, It really is just so disappointing because this team has a very rich history. Like, they have a couple World Series. I mean, guys like Ricky Henderson, Jose Canseco, like just a lot of really good players have come through Oakland. They have a very passionate fan base, and it's just too bad for the Oakland sports fans because they've already lost. I mean, the Raiders moved out a couple years ago to Vegas.
Yeah.
The Warriors moved across the bay from Oakland to San Francisco. So
there's gonna be nothing left in Oakland.
Yeah, there's just nothing left there anymore, and it really sucks. It's really
just seeing like the atmosphere because the Cubs recently went over and played in Oakland. I mean, you get a few thousand people there.
They have had in 19 games, not even 20 games. They have had 8 of the smallest crowds in Major League history. They're averaging like 2,500 fans a game, which is just terrible. I mean, you said the Cubs are visiting over the weekend, this past weekend.
They did, yeah.
There was a possum in the visiting team.
Oh yeah, I brought this up to Kevin. There was a possum in John Shambi and Jim DeShay's booth for Marquee Sports Network. And apparently, so they got kicked out and were forced to move in order to an auxiliary booth.
Like, and this is not like because when you first told this to me, I thought it was like, oh, the possum just got in there. Like, oh,
no, it's been in there
for months. It's been in there for months. Like, the stadium is quite literally falling apart. there's videos of people like pulling the seats out of the ground and like taking them home. Like the stadium is littered with trash. Like the bleachers out in the outfield are falling apart. Like it is quite literally falling apart at the seams.
They did like a thing like a few years ago where it was like a free day.
Yeah, I
just until they moved to Las Vegas.
And
you don't have money, but if you want to make money, make every game free.
I don't want to get away from the A's. We'll get back to that in a second. But I've said this for a while. If you are a major league owner on weekdays, on day games, when people are just not coming because they have to work or they have to be in school or whatever, let people in for free. Because guess what? If you let them in for free and the stadium is full, you're going to make your money back on beer, on concessions, on merch.
I mean, then you do have to pay for all those vendors, though. The more like,
but you're still. I mean, a beer is what, $14 at a baseball game.
Okay.
I mean, you're still making a lot of money off that, especially if the stadium is full every day. And, I mean, if you come, if you come with your wife and your two kids, and you're gonna buy hot dogs, you're gonna buy soda, you're gonna buy jerseys and hats, like they'll make their money back. They'll make more money, I guarantee it, if you just let people into the game.
Yeah.
And guess what? When people go to baseball games, you know what they do? They like baseball, and then they'll watch baseball, and they'll be a fan of your team for life. And they'll buy your jerseys, and they'll buy hot dogs, and they'll buy beer, and they'll buy the T-shirts when you win a World Series and whatever. Like, so if you get these people invested, especially at a young age, like that's more money for you. I don't see like all these owners are so worried about making money, especially the A's. But like, do you realize that the people you're making money off is your fans? So like you need to keep your fans engaged, which most owners don't have any interest in doing. The A's especially, they've kind of figured out, because through Major League Baseball's kind of a revenue sharing deal, they're getting at least $100 million a year. Their TV rights and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So if they keep their payroll around $35 million. I don't know what their payroll is exactly this year. I think it's somewhere around $30 million. So if you just keep your payroll low, I mean, it doesn't matter if your team is bad or not. It's better to have a bad team in some circumstances because you're making money. Mm-hmm. The A's actually got kicked out of the revenue sharing agreement a couple years ago because they were not making an effort to try to win. Mm-hmm. But they let them back in, obviously, and yeah, it just sucks because the A's are not the only team like this. I mean, the A's are the most extreme example, but there's so many teams that just don't have interest in winning or trying to put together a winning team. We talked about the Orioles, the Pirates, and all those teams. And I think it was Dave Dombrowski had this quote, the owner of the Phillies, like, if I look back, when people are looking back after I die and they write my obituaries, nobody's going to write about how I made money off my baseball team 20 years in a row. Mm-hmm. People are going to write about the World Series. They're going to write about the Bennetts. They're going to write about, the big winning streaks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just so disappointing because it seems like most baseball owners don't like baseball. They don't care about the game. They just care about their bottom line, which sucks because it just makes for a worse sport overall. That's why a guy like Steve Cohen is so refreshing, because he wants to win and he makes that apparent. He goes out and spends the money. Like, these guys are all billionaires. They have the money. So it just so, really is upsetting. And you hate to see that kind of thing.
In terms of the team, they went an American League worst last season with 60 and 102. Since the 2020 season, the last time I'm surprised they made the playoffs. The franchise,
so they made the playoffs on the COVID.
They let Marcus Semien go. They let Liam Hendricks walk. They traded away Matt Olson, who I really like. Matt Chapman is gone.
Sean Murphy's gone.
Surprisingly, they did spend some money this offseason. Former All-Star and super utility player Aledmys Diaz was signed to a 2-year, $14.5 million deal. He can fit into a lot of different spots, but figures he'll spend most of his time in the middle of the infield next to Tony Kemp.
Chicago Cubs legend, Tony Kemp.
By the way, I learned this. He's had the same glove I think since like 2014.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
He calls it his girl or something. I was watching because there was like a sliding play that like his glove came off and that thing.
How
was,
does
like,
the webbing not like just break?
I don't know.
I mean,
He's had
that's
the same
crazy.
glove for that long.
That thing's got to be worn down.
Jace Peterson infield guy signed a 2-year, $9.5 million deal and be able to fill the hole at third from Matt Chapman. Trevor May is coming off of a down year as the Mets setup man, but he has been a premier
Fortnite superstar Trevor May.
He's been a premier reliever before and is hoping for a bounce back. They did pick up Jesus Aguilar, who's an interesting power bat. You can probably bat 4th or 5th in the lineup. The most notable signing offseason was Japanese Shinichiro Fujinami.
Shinichiro Fujinami. You got it, dude.
The 28-year-old has he's good stuff, and he's got Ohtani stuff.
And we talked about this before. All these Japanese pitchers
have disgusting splitters.
Throw nasty splitters. I don't know what it is, but all these Japanese guys, we saw in the World Baseball Classic. We've seen a couple of Japanese players come over. Obviously,
they were disgusting.
Kodai Senga came over with the Mets. Ohtani. All these guys just have filthy splitters. I don't know what it is. If I have a kid, and he I'm going to make him be left-handed, and then I'm going to send him to Japan to learn how to throw a splitter, and he'll be rich.
Fastball and splitter. That's all you need to
That's
know.
all you got to do, dude. I mean, all these Japanese pitchers just have filthy splitters. I don't know what it is. It's
he's
crazy.
gotten beaten up in his first couple starts.
Yeah, he got
in his
beat
debut,
up.
but that's a debut. You can't be perfect.
11 runs in 3 innings is never great.
Looking further down the road, they do have Seth Brown, who had an encouraging 2020 season. He hit 230 with 25 homers.
He's 29 years old. He's not a guy that's going to be around for the future.
Tony Kemp, we brought up a name baseball fans will recognize, but
he sucked. He's not good.
Weak lineup. After that, I couldn't name a single.
It's like the computer generated players on Road to the Show.
Yeah.
I like to think I know a little bit about baseball. I know a lot of players and I know the makeup of a lot of the teams. Looking at them on these rosters, you're hard pressed to find a familiar face like guys with significant major league experience. There's not one guy that on really any other team in baseball except for maybe Alamis Diaz that would get regular playing time. I don't think there's one player on this team that would get regular playing time on another major league team. I really don't.
I can't name a single pitcher on their lineup.
Exactly.
So
they're abysmal, and they're abysmal. They're abysmal on purpose.
It's gonna be depressing for a while for this A's team until maybe they will figure something out if they do move, but that's probably gonna wrap because there's not really much else.
They don't deserve a lot of time because there's just nothing to talk about. I mean, they want to lose. They want to keep payroll low to make more money, and all they're really worried about is getting a new stadium in Vegas. So the A's are checked out, and the players are. I mean, you can't blame the players. The ownership has kind of thrown the season of the dogs. They don't care. They've proven they don't care. So it's why should fans care?
We'll go forward now. The team. I mean, they'll be behind everyone. The team that has surprisingly started off really well this year, but last year the Rangers went 68-94. They have made some really big off-season moves. Obviously, the one big one is starting pitcher Jacob deGrom. And he signed a 5-year, $185 million deal. And he only threw 64 innings last season. He posted 3.08 ERA and struck out 102. Surprisingly, in his first start, he did get knocked around a little bit, but he will settle in to be Jacob deGrom. But the one big thing with him is going to be monitoring his health.
Yeah, it's all about health with deGrom. I mean, the last 2 full seasons he had, 2018 and 2019, he won the Cy Young. He is the best pitcher in baseball for my money.
Yeah.
He just can't stay on the mound. That's the issue. Because when he's out there, he's untouchable. I mean,
he hasn't pitched more than 100 innings since 2019.
Yeah, but I mean, he sits 99 on the fastball, 91 mile an hour slider. He's just untouchable out there. He's such an unbelievable player, and it's unfortunate that he hasn't been able to stay on the mound. But if he does stay on the mound, and I said this earlier, this Rangers rotation is strong. It really is strong. I mean, obviously DeGrom leading off the top, but then you have Nathan Eovaldi, who was a pretty good pitcher for the Red Sox last year.
Yeah, who I recently got to see. Yeah.
You have Martin Perez, who had an All-Star season last year for the Rangers. You have Andrew Heaney. Like, there's some guys in that rotation that I like. I mean, I really do think they have the chance to be one of the better units in all of baseball, with DeGrom at the top.
When it comes to their offense now, is actually really strong. Obviously highlighted by Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, who's probably one of the best
and they are hot this year.
Middle combos.
I think Corey Seager has 5 home runs already.
Okay.
I'll double check that, but he's been hot so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in the corners, they got Josh Jung and Nate Lau at the corner infields, who are big power guys.
I was very wrong. Sorry, he's 1 home run. 1 home run.
Okay.
So not even close.
But
not
he
even
is somewhat capable of putting up a lot of home runs. In the outfield, obviously, I would say Adolis Garcia is the one big one. Robbie Grossman is another one. They did pick up Mitch Garver, which is they've had Mitch Garver.
Yeah, have Mitch Garver.
They've had Mitch Garver. Jonah Heim, who's finally
I like Jonah Heim, dude.
Who's made his way up for the catcher spot.
Already, I shouldn't say already because I think he's 28, but really, really good defensive catcher. Like one of the best defensive catcher in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So, Baseball Savant this year kind of came out with a lot of new catching stats about catching frame rates and things like that, because that's not something that information is not really readily available. It's kind of hard to really dissect what makes a catcher good at framing. But they have the stat catcher framing runs, which is kind of how many runs you save over the course of a season with your framing. He had 12 catcher framing runs, which is second best in baseball. I think only behind Jose Trevino, who's is a very strong defensive catcher. So the guy's really, really good on defense. If he can just kind of pick things up at the plate, he's going to be a really, really good player.
Mm-hmm. In terms of Nate Lau is another name to keep an eye on. He had a highly elite last year.
I didn't know this until I started looking up for this episode. He was incredible last year. So good for this team. And, I mean, nobody was talking about it because the Rangers stunk. But, he's a guy I've seen on a couple of lists, a dark horse MVP type of guy. These numbers are, and I didn't see this before, really, really good. Really, really good. And just totally flew under the radar last season. And to me,
he goes underrated because his WAR is low.
Yeah,
for the defensive numbers, but if you as long as you cover for it in terms of the offense, I say that's 100% worth it.
Yeah, it's hard to at a position like first base, if you are making an impact on defense, you have to be really bad, because first base is probably the easiest position on the field after probably left.
Yeah.
So if you're hurting your team with your defensive first base, that's not good.
That's not good.
Because I shouldn't say anybody can play first base, because obviously everything in Major League Baseball is hard. It's a professional sport, but it shouldn't be that hard at first base, man. It really shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he can kind of pick things up on the defensive side of the ball, because the offensive numbers, I mean, the best season of his career thus far. So
the Rangers will. At their stronger start, because I did pick. Who did I pick to win the division?
Probably the Astros.
I think I picked Seattle or Astros, but watch out for these Rangers.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like their bullpen could be a little shaky.
Yeah, bullpen's a lot of young guys in there. I mean, you have Will Smith, who has seen some playoff experience with the Astros and Braves on the Braves World Series team, but after that, a lot of guys you probably haven't really heard of. John King, Dane Dunning, former Chicago White Sox Dane Dunning, who's actually been good for them. He's hasn't given up a run in 18 innings so far this year. So Brett Martin, they're going to be guys that are you're going to see them a lot pitching in the later innings. So if they can kind of pick up the slack and kind of close out the back end of these games, I mean, that this rotation is going to put you in position to win a lot of games.
They could very well sneak into a wild card spot for the way this season has started.
Similar to, I think they're kind of like the Marlins in the AL.
Okay.
I really like the Marlins. I think the Marlins can sneak in the National League.
Okay.
I have the same feelings about the Rangers in the American League. This team is underrated.
Mm-hmm.
This rotation's really good.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a guy like Jacob deGrom at the top, you're always gonna have a chance. So it's just a matter of we saw it with Philly last year. If you just get in the dance, and then you have a good lineup at the top, and you got Jacob DeGrom, and like you can do something with that if you sneak in. You can't. You really can't. It's all it takes is a couple of guys.
They are expected to win 81 games this year, but I mean, we could expect them to be a 90-win team almost.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the question. I really don't. As
DeGrom,
crazy as it sounds.
If DeGrom stays
healthy, I really do think they can win. They can
like
win close to 90
10
games.
to 15 games just from DeGrom.
I like this Rangers team. I really do. I think they have a chance to. This is Houston's division. Like, make no mistake about it. Like, Houston is going to win this division.
Probably.
But I really think Texas has a chance to get in the playoff this year. I like that. I like this team.
Moving up the chain, a team that has started off a little iffy, but then they finished 73 and 89. The team, probably one of my top 3 teams. The team I need to do well is the Angels, man. Like, just obviously highlighted by Shohei Ohtani, and then some dude in
that guy, Mike Fish or something. I can't remember his name.
Mike Fish, some fish guy in center. I mean, like, highlighted by these 2 insane players. They've been plagued with pitching for a while, so they tried to make moves. They did pick up Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember this at the beginning of May last season, they were like 20-10. Mm-hmm. They got off to a hot start last year.
The Angels are the type of team that they always start off really well and then just dive.
I remember they swept the White Sox earlier in the season last year, and they killed us. They put up 6 or 7 runs every game against us.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to for those of you who are listening, if you know baseball, you should know Mr. Fish Guy, Mike Trout. And Shohei Ohtani. We could talk about them for an hour. We're just going to gloss over it because they're the best players in baseball.
Look, just from the offensive side of the ball, just at the plate, Ohtani's an MVP type guy.
Yeah.
You take what he does on the mound, or you could argue he's a better pitcher than hitter. It's crazy.
Yeah.
In 166 innings, he had a 2.33 ERA. That's incredible, dude. I said it before and I'll say it again. We will never fully appreciate what this guy is doing. It's unbelievable. And then obviously Trout is
Trout. The big thing with him is
health,
staying healthy, and because I think it was in one of his first or second years that they made the playoffs, but they have not made the playoffs.
He's only made the playoffs once in his entire career.
That was at the very beginning, I think.
Yeah, and
I need them to go deep in the playoffs. I want to watch Trout in the World Series.
And he's had this nagging back thing his whole career that's kind of kept him out of games. Hopefully he stays healthy this year, because he stayed healthy last year for the most part, which is good. In his last 162 games, which is spread across 3 seasons, granted, he's got 61 home runs. So if he stays on the field for a full season, we know what he can do. He's a MVP type guy, the best player of our generation.
That 1-2-3 combo that they had, obviously with Taylor Ward, who was actually really strong last year.
Yeah, good year last year.
He was a really early MVP type player last year. Their 1-2-3 lineup last year had a combined OPS of 1,062, which was 3rd best in baseball. So that just shows that they rely on these 1-2-3 spots, but then the 4 through 9 lineup had a combined 548, which was the worst in baseball.
Yeah, they just not. It's a crime what Art Moreno and the Angels ownership has done, just putting nothing around 2 of the best players, definitely of our generation, but also just ever in Major League Baseball. When these guys' careers are done, they are going to be on the baseball, Mount Rushmore, they're Hall of Famers. And just has put nothing around them. And you sign Anthony Rendon, that big deal. He's been a disaster. He's only played 50, 60 games every year since he's come over. And when he does play, he's not good. So, there's just nothing around. The other guys in this team, Jared Walsh, Joe Adell, Max Stassi, Andrew Velasquez, all of them had a replacement level WAR last year or worse. So they had a 0 WAR or below last year. Mm-hmm. That means, for people who don't know what WAR is wins above replacement. So if you were a 0, you were what's called a replacement level player. That means pretty much any other guy could come in and produce what you produce. Mm-hmm. So they could conceivably bring in any other guys in baseball and have better production out of them than what they get out of these guys. It's embarrassing, dude. To have And I think that's one of the things I kind of like about baseball is that even if you have the best player or the best even the two best players, you're not guaranteed success like in other sports.
You need a team.
You need 1 through 9.
You can't rely too much on two spots. You need to rely on a team.
But it also sucks because I want to see Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs. I want to see him. I want to see him go strike out the side and then go hit a tank in the bottom of the inning. Like I want to see that. So
their rotation and obviously bullpen is all over the place. They do have Aaron Loop, who is a solid arm, but nobody else really in the bullpen had a better than a 4.0 ERA in 2022. I mean, with in terms of the starters, you have Reed Detmers, Matt Moore, Tyler Anderson, all like slightly average guys.
Patrick Sandoval actually had a pretty good year last year.
Sandoval, who just coming off
sub
of the
ERA last year,
pitched in the.
I like Reed Detmers. Reed Detmers. Did Reed Detmers throw no hitter last year?
Did he throw no hitter?
Yeah,
I think he did. I think he did.
Because Rendon, you remember, hit a home run from the left side of the plate, and he's a righty.
Yeah.
That was funny, dude. Yeah, that was when the Angels were going good, and then they fell apart after that.
Maybe that's what they need. Just switch on.
Another Rendon lefty homer.
I mean, anything else? I mean, looking else at the lineup, they do have power bats. They do have another Mike Trout in the outfield. They have 2 Mike Trouts in the outfield. Hunter Renfroe, who's like a carbon.
I forgot Hunter Renfroe was on the
like
team.
a carbon copy. They did pick up Gio Urshela, who's an interesting one at third base.
A very, very good defensive player.
Yeah.
But just not going to bring you a lot at the.
So I do see. I want to see this team at least get 500.
Yeah.
I want them to do well. I want them to possibly sneak into a wild card spot. But, I mean, if your pitching holds up, and their pitching is what struggled, I mean, what was it, like last year's draft, 2 years ago in the draft? They spent
all 13 picks on pitchers.
All 13 picks on pitchers.
And none of them are good. Even though they did draft Ben Joyce out of Tennessee.
It is pretty sad that we
like
see Trout's career after all these MVP and Gold Glove
this is
and
what, year 11
something
for Trout?
like that. It's just sad to see his career waste away like this and not have the exclamation point with it. Yeah. I mean, we saw it like him in the World Baseball Classic. I mean, sure, if you added a title, if that happened, I mean, that's a little help. I mean, then again, your teammate Shohei Ohtani struck you out at the very end, which was probably one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, super cool. But he's tied to this team long term, and he signs a 12-year deal, 12-year extension. So he's with this team for probably the next 10 years, unless they trade him, which is unlikely. It's just sad because this is a guy that is without a doubt the best player of our generation.
He's the type of player that you highlight when you go to MLB The Show as the one person that everyone wants on their team.
Yeah,
I did pull a stupid, and it's fun because inside of the franchise mode, you can do anything you want. You can trade for anyone you want. Obviously, move 1, I go and trade for Trout. Move 2, I go and trade for Ohtani, and I completely ruin the Cubs prospects in order to get the 2. It's just these are the 2 highlighted best players in baseball, and if they're gonna move forward and possibly get to the playoffs, they need just a stronger team.
Yeah, it's just sad. It's just sad. There's no other word than sad.
They're projected to win 85 games.
I doubt they get 85 games.
I doubt they get 85.
If they get 85 games, that's not going to get them in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They won't get 85 games. No way.
They will. So now we're going to move up again. A team that has been up and down, that is really good.
Mostly down.
Mostly down.
Exclusively down, some would say.
We were on the train a couple years ago when they were close to getting back to the playoffs for the first time in a while.
Didn't get in.
Mariners.
First time in 21 years, I think.
Seattle Mariners, who did get to the wild card last year. They lost in the ALDS to Houston, but they finished 92-70. They're hoping to build off of a successful season. They have a star lineup. Expectations are high for one of the most exciting young teams in all baseball. They didn't do a ton free agents, but they did pick up A.J. Pollock for the outfield. Teoscar has shown his power.
Before.
They're not going to be significant contributors, but they did lose Adam Frazier, Mitch Haniger, Carlos Santana. They traded away Kyle Lewis, Jesse Winker.
I mean, they had kind of embarrassment of riches in the outfield. Like Kyle Lewis is not
a lot
guy.
of new moves. They're trying to rotate. They're trying to find that combination that they need.
My guy Jared Kelenic finally is picking it up this year
with like one of the longest homers at Wrigley in like the Statcast era.
And I was like way big on Jared Kelenic when he first got traded from the Mets.
Yeah.
And then he just sucked, which really made me sad.
He started off horribly.
So bad. I think he had like 111. He got sent back down. He was in like 120 the first half of his rookie year, which is disappointing. But he's been good this year, which makes me happy. I think he's had like 4 home runs. He's hitting like 320.
The loss of Jesse Winker is going to be significant as his team will miss his power, but someone that brings the power together and the team that revolves around is their MVP caliber player who won Rookie of the Year, Julio Rodriguez, who won the Rookie of the Year. He posted a 284 average, 345 on base, slug 509 to go along with 28 homers. He's someone you look for to lead the team. And then you put right behind him in the lineup, you can put Ty France, who has shown his power at first and can play the middle infield. Eugenio Suarez had a solid year in 2022.
Very good.
He has struggled with the strikeouts I've seen in the past, but he's like one of the top power guys, and you'll see him.
And it's a strikeout league. If you're striking out to 25%, I mean,
you're gonna see him hit a baseball at outer space every other
100%
every other day. Cal Raleigh at the catcher position also provides some pop of the catcher. They did acquire Colton Wong,
who I think is a really good pickup.
Who's
you probably saw a lot of Colton Wong last year.
I
with
did
the Brewers.
with the Brewers. Yeah, he's a good player. A big leadoff guy. Obviously, when you can have Julio. I don't know who you put leading off, but like Colton Wong is someone you can get on, and then Julio Rodriguez can follow him with big hit or homer numbers with big RBIs. But the offense looks good.
Yeah, especially if Kelenic can keep up his current pace. I mean, obviously we know
homer in 4 straight games. 3 of those were at Wrigley. That was hurtful to see.
Yeah, we know Julio is a dude. I mean, the lineup is solid, and the rotation is very good too.
Mm-hmm. Highlighting the rotation is Cy Young winner Robbie Ray, who has started off a little slow.
Yeah, a little bit of a down year last. Like not a down year, maybe not the right word, but not as good as his Cy Young season in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And Luis Castillo, who they got at the deadline, was really good for them last year.
Yeah.
And then you got Logan Gilbert, who was good for them last year. Kind of figures to slot up maybe even ahead of Robbie Ray. It's kind of like their second guy in that rotation. Had a 3.2 ERA last year, so solid arm. I mean, the rotation is solid between those top 3 guys, between Ray, Castillo, and Gilbert, all really good arms.
Mm-hmm. In terms of their bullpen, I don't know much.
Paul Sewald, always a strong arm.
Probably their big closer guy.
Had a 2.67 ERA last year. One of the better relievers in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Matt Brash, who I think he's 20. It's a young guy.
Okay.
But he got roughed up on Team Canada actually.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but like I really sorry. So he's 24, so not even close. But he's got wicked stuff. They kind of tried to start him out, like make him a starter last year. I just don't really think that's his role. I think he has the chance to be like an Andrew Miller type weapon out of the bullpen from the left side. Like, guy's got a filthy slider, like one of the best I've ever seen.
Where is Andrew Miller?
I don't even think he's in baseball anymore. I think he might be out of the league. I really do. Let me look it up. Keep talking while I look it up. Where's Andrew
Miller? I like the Mariners, but I don't know if they did enough to take a step from where they were last year. Like, obviously they did make all these big moves. The Rangers got better, and the Astros are still a dominant force. They are projected to win 80 games, which I want to see them win more. I wouldn't be surprised, I know you put this down, that if the Rangers finish ahead of them with the way they've started, I don't think they're going to win the division.
Yeah, this is the Astros division, let's be real.
But with that offense, when you have a Julio Rodriguez, a Ty France.
Obviously everybody loves Julio Rodriguez, and rightfully so. He's one of the best young players in all of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hate on the Mariners because I do like the Mariners, and they're a fun story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they did enough to get better. Because the Rangers got a lot better.
Okay.
Between DeGrom. You're going to get a better season out of Simeon and Seager than you did last year. I think they regress. I really do. I don't really have any reasoning behind it. But Julio Rodriguez is going to have to shoulder a lot of weight in this team. I mean, if he misses time or... I mean, it's hard to see this team keeping their head above water. I don't know if I have a lot of confidence in this Mariners team. I think last year when they were young and they didn't know any better and they were just going out and playing every day. But like now that there's expectations and like people want it, like people really think they're gonna go out and win. Like I don't know, it's just hard. Like it's hard for a young team like this. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I probably will be wrong. I'm pretty dumb. But I mean, I just don't know if I have a lot of faith in this Mariners team. I really don't.
Now, the team, they probably will be stuck behind. I'm just checking. I don't see a trash can anywhere. Got it. Just in case, like, they bang out, like, what they're going to do.
And Andrew Miller is out of baseball, by the way. He was last played for the Cardinals in 2021.
106-56, the Houston Astros. They secured their dynasty in 2022, winning the World Series last year. I honestly don't care.
I mean, I hate the Astros as much as you, but they are a very good baseball team.
Yeah. I mean,
and I think last year
we can't go full against them. I don't know how big you are, but they did sign Jose Abreu, and you hurt to see that happen. That's sad. That hurts me.
As a White Sox fan, I watched between 2016 and 2019. The White Sox lost 90 to 100 games every single year.
Yeah.
I think 2018 they lost 102 games. The only guy that made it worth it to show up to the ballpark or turn the game on TV was Jose Abreu. The only guy that came to play even when the team was good, quote unquote good. The only guy that really showed up and like seemed like he wanted to be there and like took pride in the playing for the city and like playing for the White Sox was Jose Abreu. Like the White Sox have had a history of really, really good first basemen. You have Frank Thomas, you move right into Paul Konerko, and then into Jose Abreu. And so it's just sad to see a guy like that go. I mean, I loved Jose Abreu. He's he's my favorite player. Mm-hmm. So seeing a guy like that walk away, and the White Sox not even offer him a contract to come back is just so disappointing.
We can get back into that later if we need to, but
love you, Jose.
In terms of the Astros, they have a very strong lineup. Jeremy Pena, by the way, is
this is what makes the Astros and the Dodgers of the world, and where the White Sox and the Cubs of the world are where we are at. Mm-hmm. Is because Jeremy Pena was a 4th-round pick out of Maine, out of the University of Maine. How many other major leaguers?
He's able to show up and be a World Series
How many other
MVP
major leaguers
player.
are coming out of Maine? How many teams send scouts to the University of Maine?
Nobody.
None, but the Astros did. You see it last night with the Dodgers. I mean, they lose Trey Turner. They lose all the whatever.
This random bump, like
James Outman comes in and hits a grand slam, and he's a stud for them as a rookie. I mean, they just when the Astros lose Carlos Correa to free agency, they bring in Jeremy Pena, and he's a stud, and they win another World Series. These teams just have these. The good teams have just seemingly never-ending pool of prospects, and when one guy leaves, you bring up the next, and he's a stud, and he leaves, and you bring up the next.
Dusty Baker knows what to do with this team.
Yeah, I was happy to see Dusty get one. As much as the Astros are the villain team, kind of nobody likes them. I was happy to see Dusty Baker get a World Series
team
for sure.
So like going through the lineup, Jeremy Pena, Alex Bregman. MVP caliber player Jordan, and then you have Abreu, Kyle Tucker in the outfield.
Kyle Tucker's a dude.
He's a good one. I liked watching him for Team USA. They have David Hensley right now at second. Altuve is going to be out the first couple months. He'll be back soon. Hopefully not.
Broke his thumb. He's going to be out. Brantley's going to be out a little bit.
I'll just say this now. Altuve used to be my favorite player in the league before 2017.
What a trash can thing,
just because he was just like this tiny second baseman that I could look up to because I see myself as a second baseman. He was this tiny, quick guy that I could compare myself to. He had good fielding. He could kill the ball, and he was like me. And then this whole cheating thing happens, and then I don't care.
Hate him.
I hate him.
Yeah, a lot of people when Jose Altuve got hit in
That's
the.
another thing. Is like I'm not even like I don't know how much we're gonna go into it, but like none of the players were fined.
Yeah, I mean.
We're not gonna go into it, but just
this is
old news.
Old news, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people are still not happy that the Astros basically face no reparations for stealing World Series.
But he'll miss the first 2 months. He's gonna come back and be a big star at second. We brought up Kyle Tucker. Alex Bregman is gonna be strong at the corner. Jeremy Pena.
He's actually been really bad this year, though. Alex Bregman has. He's had a really rough start, but I mean, he'll turn it around. He's an all-star type of guy.
Michael Brantley missed a majority of the last season and will not return until the first week of May with a shoulder injury. But he's another great hitter for this team. Up and down.
There's no holes.
There's no holes.
They're just stacked at every position.
Their pitching staff did take a big hit this season with losing Justin Verlander. I mean, you still have Lance McCullers, you still have Christian Javier, Framber Valdez, Luis Garcia.
Oh, really good arms.
Who are all really good. Like I would say, all above average arms.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Framber Valdez is one of the best pitchers in baseball.
282. Urquidy also 394, which isn't bad. Luis Garcia, who by the way has to get rid of his whole baby rocking thing.
Yeah.
Who might take a fall because of that. Someone is complaining about the whole pitching thing. That was another thing I was going to bring up earlier. Like in terms of Garcia, who doesn't like this whole pitch clock. Juan Soto, I saw a post or something, doesn't like, because he's not able. Juan Soto posted something about.
He's not be able to take control. Yeah, he's not.
With the pitch clock, because you know how after every pitch he'll like dance around and stare him down. He's not able to do that anymore.
And I get that from a player perspective, not like in the pitch clock, because especially as a hitter, as a pitcher, I think it actually is a good thing for a lot of pitchers.
Yeah.
Especially like what I've seen from Dylan Cease for the Chicago White Sox. A big part of Dylan Cease when he struggles is when he starts to think too much. When he starts to think like, oh, well, should I do this? Should I do whatever? When you have to get the ball and throw, and you get the ball and throw, and a lot of these guys with the new pitch comp technology, they're calling their own games now.
Yeah.
So
didn't Scherzer do that the other?
A lot of guys are doing it.
They're calling their own.
I don't know if anybody did it last year. Greinke did, yeah. But so when you're hitting a button and throwing, and and it's just go, like. You don't have time to think about, like, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? You're just pitching, which helps a lot of guys who are, like, mentally are not, like, I don't want to say, like, mentally weak, but, like, they kind of get in their own head sometimes. But for batters, I think it's really tough because you have no control. Like, you can't do anything.
You have to get in there. You have...
You get in the box.
Not even 10 seconds to look at the pitcher.
It's at the pitcher's pace.
Mm-hmm.
And even calling time, like you get the one time, but like even then, if you call your one time, then the pitcher can kind of just do whatever they want. They can quick pitch you as soon as you get in the box. Like they can do whatever because they know you can't call time again. I mean, so it's hard for pitchers, especially a guy like Juan Soto, who's like known for being one of the most patient hitters on all of baseball. Had like 135 walks last year,
something like
that. So like. Guy that gets on base at a high clip, it's hard for him because he's just getting up there and 1, 2, 3, 4, like it's so fast, and it's a tough adjustment, and we've seen that with him, and he's had a little bit of a rough start so far. That was talking pitch clock.
In terms of the bullpen, obviously highlighted by closer Ryan Presley,
really good pitcher.
Rafael
Montero, Hector Neris, Phil Matone.
I mean, if they're just able to be strong, the core is the best.
I mean, they didn't really lose anybody from that team. Like everybody's back.
They lost Christian Vasquez in terms of catcher. They lost Gurriel, Mancini, who's been up and down.
But the core guys are back.
Yeah.
And Jordan Alvarez is gonna have another MVP type campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and if Abreu, as much as you hurt to see it, will. If if he wants to compete on a team, because I don't know when's the last time he was in the playoffs.
2021. Yeah, the White Sox made the playoffs in 2021. They lost to the Astros actually.
Lost the Astros, so he might want to like
in 5 games.
He might want to go deep in the playoffs, but.
And I do hope he gets one. I would like to see Jose Abreu.
They proved last season that this is like they are a clear favorite in the division. I mean, I think you brought it up. Like, you can see the Yankees coming out of the American League.
I really like the Yankees. That they are a really good team. But I mean, it's the Astros.
They are
yeah.
projected to win 92 games. But do you think they
I
could
don't
be on
see
pace
anywhere
for
they
100?
don't win 100. I mean, they're definitely going to win 100 games again, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. When you play everybody, yeah.
They're just stacked. They don't have one hole. There's not one hole in this team. There really is not.
Mm-hmm.
They're strong top to bottom, 1 through 26. So
now, wrapping up the division, like just top down. As much as I want to see it, I want the Mariners to win the division. I want the Angels to do well, but Astros will finish on top, and then I'll put the Rangers second.
I think the Rangers are going to finish second too.
I'll put
I
the
really
Rangers
like the
second.
Rangers, dude. I think they're a good team.
Then
like a genuinely good team.
Seattle or the Angels. I mean, it's 3, 4, 5 doesn't really matter. I mean, sure, Seattle or Angels could sneak into a wild card. I doubt it for the Angels.
I doubt it for the Angels. I would be shocked if the Angels got
Don't
in
be
the playoffs.
like.
I think Ohtani's gone by the end of this. I don't think when we get to August.
If they lose, then they're done.
Come August, I think Ohtani's on another team. I really do.
Or does Trout?
Because this team is
After all of this.
Trout's there for the long term. He signed the contract. He knew what he was getting into. But Ohtani is going to leave free agency. We talked about that. I know we talked about this at the beginning. It is a 100% no doubt he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if the Angels, it's just common sense. Go get something for him. Somebody will give you, a couple of top prospects for a half season of Ohtani, no doubt.
All right. And now, we would normally end it off the divisional. We would normally end off here, but since that's kind of the wrap up of all of our divisions, we'd figure we'd go through who we predict for World Series and some award stuff. So, starting off, I guess we'll go to the American League because we just did American League. For MVP, I'm gonna go Jordan. Is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan has been one of the best hitters in all of baseball last year. Had an unbelievable postseason last year. A lot of seasons he probably wins MVP. But Aaron Judge obviously was unstoppable train. Like nobody was going to beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're stuck behind Ohtani too. It's just a wagon. But a lot of other years, Jordan Alvarez probably has a pretty convincing case for MVP. I mean, he's a stud. He's gonna put up another good year. I mean, he's only gonna get better.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is only what? I think he's only 25. He's still young.
I don't know.
Because I want to say 2021 was his rookie year.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but he hasn't been in the league that long. So
yeah.
He's only gonna get better. He's only gonna improve. I mean, he's a dude. I love Jordan Alvarez. I got one of the best swings in baseball too, and it's always funny because it feels like every home run I've seen from Jordan Alvarez is the same. It's like a thigh high.
Towering.
It's every pitch I'm saying. It's like a thigh high breaking ball middle in. And it's and every time he gets that pitch, he just clobbers it. And it's like, why are you throwing that pitch?
Yeah.
Why are you throwing him anything in there? That's exactly where he wants it. Crazy.
For National League MVP.
Whoa, I'm gonna go. That's okay with you.
Okay.
That's okay with you.
You thought you said your statement.
Calm down, man. Relax. Take a deep breath. Okay. I like Shohei Ohtani to win MVP. I love Shohei Ohtani. I love him so much. Shohei Ohtani, I love you. I mean, he's just been even last year, I think he should have won MVP. I know Judge had the unbelievable season with the 60. How many home runs did Aaron Judge hit?
62? I think 62.
Yeah? I think it was more than that. No, it was 62. You were right. 62 home runs. I know he had an unbelievable season, but Ohtani does it from both sides, and I just can't get over how unbelievable this guy is. He does this from both sides. In the last 2 seasons, 80 home runs, 151 OPS plus, and then pitching 156 ERA plus, 11.4 Ks per 9. He's put up 9+ WAR in both of the last 2 seasons. He's only getting better. I mean, it's possible we haven't even seen final Ohtani. He's not even at the best he's going to be yet, which is a scary thought. I think Ohtani is probably due for an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I think in my opinion, if Aaron Judge does not play for the Yankees, Ohtani wins last year.
Okay.
And he's looking at maybe his 3rd MVP in a row.
Now.
I also like Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, shout out. I think he's a dark horse.
National League, I'm going to go MVP. I'm going to go with Pete Alonso.
Yeah, he's off to a hot start.
He's off to a hot start.
It's always
and
tough
he's going to be huge up there in the RBI numbers.
Yeah, it's always tough for a first baseman because you don't have the defense to kind of show off. Like, it's hard to put up.
I mean, you didn't really look at that with Judge last year.
Well, Judge plays outfield.
Yeah, I know.
So it's a little bit easier to get at the WAR. But, like, I mean, you look at Paul Goldschmidt. If you hit, you're going to win.
Yeah.
So, like, if he puts up 55 home runs and, drives in 100 RBIs, I mean, he's going to have a chance. I mean, obviously one of the best hitters in baseball, like, hits for power. So, he's a guy that can go out and hit 50 home runs, and you wouldn't think twice. I mean, really good hitter. I mean, I think he's definitely got a fighter's chance at MVP.
Who do you think?
I like Juan Soto. Okay. Somehow Juan Soto has never won an MVP. I know he's only 24, but so, like, he's still got a long career left.
Yeah.
But, like, he's probably had a case every year since he's come in the league when he was 20. Like, he's just always been one of the best players from the first time he set foot on a diamond. He's had 2 top 5 MVP finishes, but he's just never really been able to get the job done. He had a quote unquote down season last year. He still had 149 OPS plus with 27 homers, walked 135 times, and that was a bad year for Juan Soto. That was Juan Soto might not have it anymore. I know he's off to a bad start this year. He hasn't really found his footing yet in San Diego, but I think it's only a matter of time until he kind of figures it out and returns to the Juan Soto we know. He's just too good to not succeed. He's just too talented.
In terms of, like, before we move over to Cy Young, in terms of, like, home run type of things, like, who's leading the league in home runs?
That's a tough question. I mean, Judge has got to be the favorite again after he gets.
I'm gonna go with Pete Alonso. A sleeper.
Yeah.
Watch out for my boy P. Wizzy.
Yeah, dude. He's what, 9 now?
He's got 9. He's got 9. Tied for the lead with Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on a tear. I mean, he's been really good.
Him and Max Muncy could be sleeper picks for that number 1 home run spot.
Muncy?
Muncy is 8.
I haven't seen.
Muncy is 8 right now.
Wow, I didn't know that either. I haven't been keeping up with this stuff. I mean, yeah, Judge is obviously the favorite. Pete Alonso, like you said. Jordan will be up there. Schwarber will be up there if he stays healthy. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of guys that have a shot at it. Vladdy, I think, has probably got a shot at it. Yeah, I mean, I like you said, I think Alonso's got a pretty good chance. I would probably say Judge, just because I think Judge is already off to, like, last year at 62. I don't think he hit his first until, like, the 5th game of the season, which is crazy. And he's already got, I think, 6 or 7. Let me look at it real quick. He's already good. He's got 6 this year. So, I mean, yeah, I would probably put money on Judge to be the home run champ if I was a betting man.
We're gonna move over to the Cy Young now. In terms of ALs.
I also like Jazz Chisholm as a dark horse for the NL MVP.
Okay.
One of the few guys, especially with the rule changes with base running and bigger bases and pickoffs. I think him and Ronald Acuna are maybe some of the only guys, and Kyle Tucker, are some of the only guys that we can maybe see have a 40-40 season, which hasn't been done in forever. 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Hasn't been done in a long time. I think Bobby Abreu was the last guy to get a 40-40 season. So it's been a little while. But obviously we haven't seen a lot of stolen bases in recent years. That part of the game has just kind of disappeared.
That'll be adapted now with these new rule
but yeah,
changes.
with the new rules, there's going to be a lot more stolen bases. So we'll see a guy join the 40-40 club. Hasn't happened in a long time. I'm just looking it up now. Alfonso Soriano was the last guy to do it with the Nationals in 2006. Didn't even know Alfonso Soriano played for the Nationals. So yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see it. Maybe we won't. I'm not counting on it. I don't think it's gonna happen. But I mean, 30-30, I think is definitely in the cards for both of those guys. So yeah, Josh Chisholm, also just cool guy. Mm-hmm. Shout out Josh Chisholm.
For Cy Young, American League, I'll let you go first.
Shohei Ohtani. No, I'm not repeating myself. I like Shohei Ohtani to win MVP and Cy Young. Just like this, I just can't get over how good Shohei Ohtani is. Like, this guy, even if he's just the pitcher, he's still one of the most valuable players in all of baseball from what he's done on the mound. 2.3 ERA last year, 219 strikeouts in 166 innings. I mean, he had a 1.67 ERA in his last 19 starts. I think he was 4th last year in Cy Young voting. Like, he's already one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah.
In addition to being the best hitter in baseball.
Yeah.
Like, I said it a million times. I keep repeating myself. We will never appreciate what Ohtani is doing. He is incredible. He's a robot. If you designed a baseball player in a laboratory, it would be Shohei Ohtani. He's unbelievable.
I'm going to go with probably Garrett Cole, who has started off really strong and has pushed aside all the cheating allegations, and he's just been someone dominant.
So good.
I think he's going to lead the league in
probably lead the
strikeout
league in
this year.
strikeouts, yeah. He's a guy that's going to strike out 220, 230 even.
In terms of the National League, you have written down Corbin Burns. I think I'm agreeing with you here.
I like Corbin Burns, dude. And he's pitching for a contract. The Brewers kind of give him a little bit of a middle finger in arbitration because I think he wanted 11.5, and the Brewers gave him, or the Brewers put up 11, and the arbitrator sided with the Brewers, which is like I think I've said this in a prior episode, but like I don't get these teams lowballing their franchise players, especially if you want to have a hope at bringing these guys back when they're free agents. So like $500,000 is nothing to these guys.
Compared to what you see deals go today.
It's a drop in the bucket, and what's the point in saving that if it's going to make one of the best players on your team unhappy? If it's going to make him think like you're giving him the middle finger.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like Corbin Burns. I mean,
a sleeper. Watch out for Marcus Stroman.
Yeah,
who started off like I think he's the Cubs. I think they're like the top. I know that for sure top 3. They're like top 3 in starter ERA right now.
Oh, hey. Yeah, I mean, dude, Cubs.
Watch out for Stroman. Through 4 games, has only given up like 2 or 3 extra base hits.
Yeah, like, dude, Cubbies are good.
I like Stroman.
Like, Wesneski's my dude. I'm a big time number
Wesneski.
one Wesneski fan club. I'm the founding member. That's my guy, Wesneski.
Right.
I just like saying Wesneski. Like, that's a really solid name.
I like saying Newt
solid
Bar.
Polish last name. I don't know. Is he Polish? I don't know.
Rookie of the year, Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll.
It's gonna be Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll. I would be shocked if it's anything other than these two guys. Corbin Carroll, especially if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year in the National League, his leg fell off.
Watch out for his teammate Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah, if he makes enough starts, it's tough with rookie pitchers because you just don't know how much they're going to play. I mean, when you
have a positional player,
especially when you're trying to build up their arms.
I don't know, something new might happen.
No, for sure. I think Grayson Rodriguez has got a shot at it. But I mean, Gunnar Henderson is a dude. He played 34 games last year for the Orioles towards the end of the season. Had a 123 OPS plus. Had a really good eye for a young hitter. Like walked a lot.
Yeah.
Which is always a good sign with a hitter that young, because typically when they get up to the major leagues and they're excited and they're swinging at everything, chasing everything. So when you see a guy that's cool and composed at the plate, it's really an encouraging sight. So yeah, I think Gunnar Henderson, Corbin Carroll are really the only picks. I really can't even think of another name besides these two guys that would have a shot at it. Francisco Alvarez of the Mets, maybe, if he plays. I mean,
he was brought up. So
yeah, Brett Beatty maybe with the Mets. I don't really see it being anything.
We'll see how it goes. But
yeah,
in terms of that is it.
Yeah, that's all I got.
We finished. We got through all 6 divisions. We've gotten through all of them. One last thing before we wrap up today. Actually, a couple things. Next episode, what we're probably going to do is just go through storylines, go through news. I might go like game by game from the last day, see what happened. I'll go through standings again. But one last thing before we end today. Fire away. World Series. What's happening? Who we got? 1-2.
So their starts to this point.
I'm limiting you to a minute. It's like the 30-second things they do on ESPN. You have 30 seconds. Go.
Their starts to this point in the season are not encouraging, but I like the Padres and I like the Yankees.
Okay.
I know the Padres are off to a bad start, but their lineup is just too good. I think that rotation is really, really strong. And then the Yankees are stacked. I mean, the Yankees have guys all over the place. The rotation's also very good. When you have Aaron Judge, you can do a lot of stuff. I mean, I like the Padres over the Yankees in 6 games.
I'm gonna change, and I'm a little biased by the beginning of the year. I'm gonna go with the hotheads right now. I'm gonna go with Ooh, I'm bold.
The Chicago Cubs over the Tampa Bay Rays.
I was thinking Rays.
In 4 games.
I'm trying to think. I'll go Braves, Rays.
Braves, Rays. Yeah, Braves are good.
I'll go Braves over Rays.
So the Braves last
I like
year.
how I said I would pick Mets to win, but after losing.
So the Braves last year started 23-27. Since then they've won. Over 162 games, they've
They're
they've
just
won
a sound team.
They've won 113.
Yeah.
Like they're so good.
So,
And kind of like what I said with the Dodgers and with the Astros, like they just bring up these guys that are studs. Like you let Freddie Freeman walk, and then Michael Harris comes up and he's a stud. Spencer Strider's a stud. Like Ronald Acuna, obviously we know what he can do. I mean, there's so many guys in the team. You bring in Sean Murphy to catch. You already have Travis d'Arnaud. It's like one of the best catchers in baseball. I mean, just an embarrassment of riches for the Braves. They're a super good team.
we will see what happens. We're
Yeah.
not even 20 games in.
Not even 20 games in, so long way to go. Strap in, people.
There were like
I'm gonna change my pick.
after the hot start of the Rays, like 162-0.
I'd like to change my pick. It's gonna be the Chicago White Sox in 4 games over the Chicago Cubs. We're gonna turn it around.
I mean,
Liam
I'll be
Hendricks.
happy with making the World Series.
Yeah, you would because you're a lucha franchise. But over on the south side of Chicago, like we just want to.
Who has a better record right now? Who has a better record?
Long
right now?
season, buddy. We'll see. Long season.
Who just absolutely demolished the best team in the West today?
I don't know who beat the Diamondbacks. Who did Diamondbacks beat?
Okay. All right. That'll do it. Thank you guys for listening. And then
Padres-
again,
Diamondbacks haven't played today.
going
yet,
back
so
to that whole trivia thing, that's something we should do. The whole little, just ask something in the comments.
Yeah, who are the top?
Elvis Andrews is the 4th active player in hits. Who are the top 3? Put them in the comments.
Yeah, cool.
All right. That'll do it. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah, we'll see you next
Last
week.
Goodbyes. See you guys around.